already are working in the agile setup and you do understand these very basics, that what is a feature, what is the user story, and how it is written, um, like just raise hand so that I have an understanding that some of you have a fair level of understanding about this. Okay. Ahmad, Ehsan. No, what about others? Okay. It means that most of the people, Rashid as well. Okay. So it means that most of the people are not aware of this. So we need to spend some time. See, I have already briefly explained that user story is nothing but a user narrative in the agile setup, that what a user wants, end user, right? End user is the one who is going to eventually use it. So please don't assume that the end user is always going to be a low profile person. No, not necessarily. End user can be a senior management person as well. End user can be a sponsor as well. End user can be your boss as well. End user is like anybody who's going to use it via their profile. So it's very simple to understand. The user stories is the user perspective, the user narrative for a requirement, and it is all written as well from an end user perspective, right? So the user story, ideally, when it is written in the form of a statement, it should have three parts: the who part, the what part, and the why part. The three W's. It's also termed as W3, right? Who, what, and why. And it's written this way: as a role or persona or user. Persona is also like a role, and it can be a hard and fast user as well. I want this functionality. It can be like a feature. It can be a very detailed granular functionality, so that I could achieve this, right? The reason. So this is the who part, this is the what part, and this is the why part. I know most of you must be thinking that keeping yourself in the user's shoe, you must be able to understand that why the who and the what part is important, because of course, as this is my requirement, so what needs to be covered and where it is coming from, both of that is important. But the why part, why it is important to include at the end user level, it's very important to include. And it's not all an idea in the agile only. This is how it is implemented in agile. There is a way to implement that at predictive level as well. See, why connects you to project objectives. As simple as we in the first class briefly we talked about what is a project, its baseline definition, and like what we are doing in a project. So I told you that project is an effort which demands the scope, schedule, budget, resource considerations, and it's going to produce you a result, a good, a service, a product, or maybe a combination of them in alignment with certain project objectives. Project objectives like are written statements which aligns your project idea to the ultimate vision and goals of the organization. Okay. I know it's a very broader topic, and it's a very probably for most of you it's very it's very difficult to comprehend that what this conversation is about. So you do not really need to get into too much details about that. However, always keep in mind that our project is not done like without a proper strategic motive. And when it comes to the strategy, it is always connected to the broader company goals. So for instance, if you are doing a project for a customer in your organization, there is a reason why your company as a performing organization has chosen that project in their under their umbrella. But you are not doing it maybe the reason is only revenue or money making or something, but not all of the times it's only about the money or the revenue. There are many other strategic objectives as well. There can be the reason of first to market. There can be a reason of market share grab. There can be a reason of maybe brand recognition or brand establishment. There can be many reasons. So we do not like really want to get into that conversation as of now. However, whatever objectives the project is being done for, it is stated somewhere. It is written somewhere, should be written somewhere, and that somewhere is project charter that we are going to discuss in tomorrow class in detail. So one or more objectives should always be the reason why that requirement makes sense to the team to work upon it. And one other reason this why part is important is that, you know, for a customer, for an end user, for someone who wants this requirements done, they are always going to say that my requirement is super important, and for me, it's a make or break, or it's a do or like die situation, right? But not every time this is the case. So you need to have that level of understanding by connecting that requirement to some agreed upon objectives in the project. If that mapping is a success, and you can see that yes, where this requirement is coming from, then you can further take that input in the backlog item prioritization. So why part is important. Most of the teams would miss this why part while writing the story, but this should not be that way. I can show you some further examples of user story. For instance, as a mobile banking user, I want to view my last transaction. So, okay, Amar is saying that, can we say that why part is acceptance criteria? No, acceptance criteria is related to the what part, because whatever you are going to make, how it's going to be validated, that should be written in the acceptance criteria. Why part is should be related to or should be connected to the objectives. Okay, so we are coming to the acceptance criteria. That's the next conversation, right? So you may check these certain other examples as well for your information. So now let's talk about the other pieces of user story. Of course, the user story is not only that statement written in the what, who, and why part. It's not only about it, because only that statement is not going to give the development team a fair level of understanding of what they are expected to be developing or to be making in the in the product. So we need more details. A user story is very comprehensive. It's very very detailed. So it may have user flows as well. It may have wireframes as well. It may have you know, pre and post conditions as well. It should have pre and post condition, that what you are entering with in this user story, and when you are departing from this user story, what different post conditions can be created for the probably for the other users, and on what basis the user story is going to be accepted by the customer or by the end user, right? Or by whoever is going to be giving a go ahead or marking it as done. So each of the user story, so the acceptance criteria is per user story based. Each of the user story should have acceptance criteria. So acceptance criteria ideally should be as detailed as possible. This pre-condition, post-condition usually goes in the acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria should be coming from the customer itself. When I say customer, it's not literal customer. It can be end user, or it can be like any person or group who you are doing this requirement for. And maybe they are not going to write it for you. They are you or your business analyst. By you, I mean product owner or your business analyst is going to write it for them, but you should get it verified from them. And it's a mechanism of validation. On the other hand, the definition of done, which is also popularly termed as DoD, is per sprint or iteration based. It's coming from the development team itself. Development team for Scrum, or you can say Agile team in case you are following the other ways of Agile working. And it's a mechanism of verification. Actually, when you are working as a team, as a development team, or as a project team in Agile, you need to have some criteria, and this criteria literally in the form of a checklist, like this checklist. This is a checklist, for instance, where each of the user stories should be fulfilling all of these criteria, or whichever criteria applies. That yes, for this user story, for instance, that if the criteria says that relevant documentation is done, right? If the criteria says that relevant development or coding is done, right? Or if the criteria says that relevant designing is done, or relevant integration is done. So I'm just making it up. This criteria usually is very exhaustive. So for a particular user story at a team level, I'm not talking about the customer at all, because DoD is purely at the team level, as written over here. So it's at a team level. So at a team level, there should be a person, maybe a QA person, or maybe someone from the team. If you don't have a defined QA, he or she needs to check that yes, whichever documentation requirement needs to be established, it is done. Whatever implementation or the work that needed to be done, it had been done. Whatever design features had to be done, it had been done. Whatever integration of this user story to the other user stories had to be done, it has been done. And based on that, they declare this user story as done from their side, like from the team side, that yes, from our side, it's ready to demonstrate and probably deliver to the customer. And from there, you take it to the customer. In the review session, of course, we have not really talked about that in detail, so we are going to park it for now. But you take it to the customer, and maybe if you don't really take it in the agile manner, it's a normal way of working. You get the work done at a team level. You you check it within the team. Maybe there is a hard and fast rule defined. Maybe it's like some work dedicated or delegated to someone in the team. Then you are confident to take it to the person who eventually has asked for this requirement to demonstrate, which is your customer or end user more specifically. And if that person is also going to say that yes, from my perspective, you have developed or you have established the requirement really well, and I'm marking it as done, I'm considering it as done, then that deliverable or that part is considered as done in that iteration. And this is how it literally works in Agile. So you need to have some criteria with you. The acceptance criteria is on the basis of which you hold the customer or end user accountable, that see, you have given this acceptance criteria based on which team has worked at their end, and they have got it verified and everything checked, and now they are presenting